The chamber is open and full of whispers.
Lucius Malfoy stood in the atrium of the Ministry of Magic, his silver-topped cane clicking against marble floors. Around him the wizarding world celebrated. Lord Voldemort was gone. The Dark Lord had fallen. Death Eaters were being rounded up, dragged to Azkaban without trials, their screams echoing through the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. Lucius had been careful, very careful. He'd never taken the dark mark where anyone could prove it. His donations to the ministry had been generous, his political connections ironclad. When the Aurors came for suspected Death Eaters, they found nothing at Malfoy Manor except a concerned citizen who'd always harbored doubts about you-know-who's methods. But Lucius wasn't celebrating. He was thinking. The Potter boy, Harry Potter. The child who'd somehow destroyed the most powerful dark wizard in a century. The boy who lived. Right now, according to ministry whispers Lucius had overheard, Albus Dumbledore was placing the child with Muggle relatives. Muggles. The magical world's greatest asset, hidden away in suburban obscurity like a shameful secret. Lucius's mind worked rapidly. Dumbledore had no legal authority over the Potter child. He was Hogwarts headmaster, not minister, not a Wizengamot official. The boy's parents were dead. His godfather, Sirius Black, was being arrested for their murder even now, dragged into a ministry holding cell 3 floors below where Lucius stood. There was a vacuum, and Lucius Malfoy had built his fortune on exploiting vacuums. He found Bartemius Crouch Sr. in his office, surrounded by arrest warrants and fire whiskey. The man looked 20 years older than he had that morning. "Crouch," Lucius said smoothly. "A word about the Potter boy." Crouch looked up, exhausted. "What about him?" Lucius kept his voice neutral, reasonable. "I question the wisdom of this." The headmaster believes many things," Lucius interrupted, "but he has no legal standing in this matter. The boy is a national treasure. The child who defeated the Dark Lord, should he truly be raised in obscurity by Muggles who know nothing of our world? Who may resent his very existence?" Crouch frowned. "What are you suggesting?" "I am suggesting that a wizard of Harry Potter's significance requires a proper magical upbringing. As a lord of the Wizengamot, as someone who has considerable experience with pureblood traditions and magical education, I am volunteering to take the boy into my household. He would want for nothing. He would be raised with every advantage our world can offer." "Lucius, you were suspected. Suspected, never proven, never charged." Lucius leaned forward. "My son Draco is only months older than young Harry. They would be raised as brothers. The boy would have family, Bartemius, not isolation with Muggle strangers." Crouch was silent, considering. He was a man who valued order, tradition, proper procedure, and Lucius was offering exactly that. "Where are Dumbledore's legal documents?" Lucius pressed. "His guardianship papers? His ministry authorization? He has none. He's acting on sentiment and some theory about blood wards that may or may not even function. I'm offering a legitimate solution." 30 minutes later, Lucius had emergency custody approved by 3 Wizengamot members he'd woken from their beds. The paperwork was signed before Dumbledore even knew what had happened. Lucius found Hagrid outside the ministry cradling a bundle wrapped in blankets. The half-giant was weeping, his face buried in his massive hands. "Hagrid," Lucius said gently, "I need you to give me the child." Hagrid looked up, confused. "Eh?" Professor Dumbledore said, "Professor Dumbledore's instructions have been superseded by Wizengamot order." Lucius produced the parchment, official seals gleaming. "I have been granted emergency custody of Harry Potter. You will surrender him to me now." Lucius's voice hardened. "I am offering the boy a home, Hagrid. A magical home. With my family. With my son, who can be his brother. Would you truly condemn Harry Potter to live among people who will see his magic as a curse?" He looked down at baby Harry, who blinked up at him with bright green eyes. "He needs magic," Lucius said softly. "He needs family. I can give him both." Hagrid, grief-stricken and overwhelmed, handed over the bundle. Lucius took Harry Potter in his arms and disapparated before anyone could stop him. Malfoy Manor rose from the Wiltshire countryside like a monument to old money and older magic. Narcissa Malfoy stood in the entrance hall when Lucius arrived, her face carefully neutral. "You took him," she said. "Not a question." "I took him." Lucius pulled back the blanket, revealing Harry's face. The lightning bolt scar on his forehead was still fresh, still bleeding slightly. Narcissa approached, studying the child. She'd lost so much in the war. Her sister Bellatrix, dragged screaming to Azkaban, Her cousin Sirius, arrested tonight, her friends dead or imprisoned, the Dark Lord himself destroyed by this infant. She should have hated him. Instead, she saw a baby boy who'd just lost his parents, who'd been orphaned by the same war that had taken everyone she loved. "Bring him upstairs," Narcissa said quietly. "The nursery has room for 2. Lucius carried Harry to the 2nd floor, where 17-month-old Draco was sleeping in his crib. The nursery was vast, decorated in silver and green, enchanted stars drifting across the ceiling. Narcissa prepared a 2nd crib with a wave of her wand. Lucius placed Harry inside, and the boy immediately began to cry, small fists waving in the air. Draco woke at the noise, pulling himself up on the bars of his crib to stare at the stranger. "Draco," Narcissa said softly, lifting her son out and carrying him to Harry's crib. "This is Harry. He's going to live with us now. He's going to be your brother." Draco, too young to understand words but old enough to sense tone, reached out and touched Harry's hand. Harry's crying quieted. The 2 babies stared at each other in the dim light of enchanted stars. Narcissa felt something crack in her chest. She'd expected to raise 1 son. Now she had 2. "He'll never be alone again," she whispered, stroking Harry's wild black hair. "You're ours now, Harry Potter. Ours." Lucius stood in the doorway, watching. He'd taken the child for political reasons, for leverage, for the advantage of controlling the boy who lived. But watching Narcissa cradle both boys, watching Draco's tiny hand grip Harry's even tinier fingers, he realized something. This wasn't just a chess piece. This was his son now, and Lucius Malfoy protected what was his. By morning, the wizarding world knew. Daily Prophet, November 2nd, 1981. Boy who lived claimed by Malfoy family. Controversy erupts over Potter guardianship. By Rita Skeeter, the infant hero who survived the killing curse and destroyed He Who Must Not Be Named, has been taken into the care of Lord Lucius Malfoy of the ancient and noble House of Malfoy. Wizengamot records confirm that Lord Malfoy obtained emergency custody through proper legal channels late last night, overriding previous arrangements made by Hogwarts headmaster Albus Dumbledore. "The boy deserves a proper magical upbringing," Lord Malfoy stated in an exclusive interview. "I am honored to provide young Harry with the home and education befitting his station. He will be raised alongside my own son, Draco, as a true member of our family." Albus Dumbledore reached for comment at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, said only, "I had hoped for a different outcome, but I must respect the Wizengamot's decision." Others question Lord Malfoy's motives, given his family's rumored connections to dark magic. However, no charges have ever been filed against the Malfoy patriarch, and his supporters insist his record speaks for itself. "Lucius Malfoy is one of our most respected citizens," said Wizengamot member Tiberius Ogden. "His contributions to magical society are beyond question. Young Harry Potter could not be in better hands." The child's godfather, Sirius Black, was unavailable for comment, as he is currently awaiting trial for the murder of Peter Pettigrew and 12 Muggles, as well as alleged betrayal of the Potter family to you-know-who. Harry Potter, now 15 months old, will be raised at Malfoy Manor in Wiltshire. The wizarding world watches with bated breath to see what becomes of the boy who lived. Dumbledore stood in his office at Hogwarts, the Daily Prophet crumpled in his hand. Fawkes sang a mournful note from his perch. "I was too slow," Dumbledore said quietly. "I thought I had time. I thought the Blood Wards." "The Blood Wards are irrelevant now," Severus Snape said from the shadows. He'd arrived via flu moments ago, his face pale. "Lucius has the boy legally. There's no overturning a Wizengamot custody ruling without cause, and Lucius is too clever to provide cause. Lily's son," Dumbledore whispered, "raised by a Death Eater." "Alleged Death Eater," Snape corrected automatically, though his voice was hollow. "Lucius was never marked, never arrested. You taught me yourself, Albus, we can only fight battles we can win. This one is lost." Dumbledore turned to face his former student. "Then we must prepare for the long game. Harry will come to Hogwarts eventually. When he does, we will have our chance to guide him toward the light. And if Lucius has already poisoned him against you, I will hope it left her goodness." Dumbledore's eyes were distant. "Love is more powerful than any dark magic, Severus. Even Lucius Malfoy cannot corrupt that." Snape said nothing. He was thinking of Lily's green eyes, now looking out from a child who would be raised to despise everything she'd stood for. He excused himself and flew directly to Malfoy Manor. Lucius received Snape in his study, a room of dark wood and leather, walls lined with books that ranged from respectable to forbidden. Severus, I was expecting you. You took Potter's son. I took an orphan who needed a home. Lucius poured 2 glasses of fire whiskey, offering one to Snape. Sit. We've known each other too long for theatrics. Dumbledore will never forgive this. Dumbledore can rot. Lucius sipped his drink. He tried to bury the boy who lived with Muggles, Severus. Muggles. As if Harry Potter were something shameful to be hidden away. I'm giving the boy the life he deserves. You're giving yourself leverage over the most famous wizard in Britain. That too. Lucius smiled, but it doesn't make my first statement untrue. The boy is upstairs right now, sleeping next to Draco. They've already bonded. Harry stopped crying the moment he touched my son's hand. Snape's jaw tightened. What do you want from me? I want you to teach him. Lucius leaned forward. When he's old enough. 7, perhaps 8 years old. Potions, occlumency, the things a wizard of his caliber will need to know. You're the finest potions master I've ever met, Severus, and one of the few men I trust. You want me to turn Lily Potter's son into a Slytherin? I want you to give him the education his mother would have wanted him to have. Lily Evans was brilliant, wasn't she? Top of your year in potions. She'd want her son trained by the best. It was a trap, and Snape knew it. But it was also an opportunity, to be near Lily's son, to see her eyes every day, to shape the boy perhaps into something better than what Lucius intended. I'll consider it, Snape said finally. Consider quickly. The boy grows fast. Lucius raised his glass. To new beginnings, Severus, and old friendships. 2 years passed. Harry Potter was 2.5 years old, and Draco was nearly 4. The boys were inseparable. Where Draco went, Harry followed. Where Harry laughed, Draco laughed louder. Narcissa found them impossible to separate for bedtime, so eventually she simply let them share a room. But Lucius was already planning for the future. The boy who lived needed more than just a brother. He needed an advisor. A strategist, someone brilliant enough to match Harry's natural charisma with intellectual firepower. The Ministry's Underage Magic Detection Office sent Lucius a routine report in June of 1983. Massive, accidental magic surge detected in Crawley, Sussex. A Muggle household. The burst of power was off the charts for a child so young. Lucius went personally to investigate. The house was ordinary, suburban, depressingly Muggle. He knocked on the door and a woman answered. Neat professional clothes, slightly harried expression. Mrs. Granger? I'm from the Ministry of Magic. He showed her identification, watching her face go blank with confusion. I'm here about your daughter. I'm sorry, Magic? Is this some kind of a crash from upstairs? Both adults looked up. Through the ceiling they could hear a child's voice. I didn't mean to. Lucius climbed the stairs without waiting for permission. He found a small bedroom, and in it a 4-year-old girl with bushy brown hair and very large front teeth. She was standing in the center of a circle of floating books, 24 of them orbiting her head like planets around a sun. The girl was crying. Make them stop. I can't make them stop. Lucius knelt down, keeping his movements slow and non-threatening. Hello there. What's your name? Hey, Hermione. Hermione. That's a beautiful name. Greek, isn't it? From The Winter's Tale. He smiled gently. Don't be frightened, Hermione. What you're doing is perfectly natural. You're a witch. The books dropped, all of them hitting the floor in a cascade of paper and broken spines. Hermione stared at him with wide eyes. A witch. A very powerful one, I think. Lucius looked at her more carefully. Raw magical power radiated from this childlike heat from a forge. He'd seen adult wizards with less presence. Do you like to read, Hermione? She nodded frantically. I read all the time. Mummy says I read too much, but I can't stop. I want to know everything. I want to learn. Then you'll love where I'm going to take you. Mrs. Granger appeared in the doorway, her husband behind her, both looking terrified. Lucius stood, suddenly cold and formal. Mr. and Mrs. Granger, your daughter is a witch. She possesses magical abilities that will only grow stronger as she ages. The Ministry of Magic oversees all magical children in Britain. We have schools, institutions, a whole society you've never known existed. This is insane, Mr. Granger said. Magic isn't real. Lucius waved his wand. The books reassembled themselves and floated back to the shelf in alphabetical order. Mrs. Granger sat down heavily on Hermione's bed. I'm here to offer you a choice, Lucius continued. You can raise Hermione yourselves. knowing nothing of her world, unable to help her control her powers. She'll be isolated, frightened, dangerous to herself and others. Or, he paused. You can allow me to take her. I have a son her age, another boy, slightly older, also magical. She would be raised in a proper magical household, trained, educated, given everything she needs to thrive. You want to take our daughter? Mrs. Granger's voice cracked. I want to save her from a childhood of fear and confusion. Lucius kept his tone gentle, reasonable. You're dentists, yes. Intelligent people. You understand that Hermione needs specialized care. Medical professionals don't treat conditions outside their expertise. You wouldn't perform brain surgery. Why would you try to raise a witch? Cruel, calculated manipulation. But Lucius watched it work. We can visit her? Mr. Granger asked weakly. I'm afraid not. The statute of secrecy forbids extensive Muggle contact with our world. But Lucius pulled out a briefcase, opening it to reveal stacks of Muggle currency. I can offer compensation, 500,000 pounds, enough to retire comfortably, to live the life you've always wanted. And you'll know Hermione is safe, cared for, thriving in the world where she belongs. The Grangers stared at the money. Hermione stared at her parents. We need to think about this, Mrs. Granger whispered. You have 1 hour. Lucius closed the briefcase. After that, the ministry will be forced to intervene more formally. It's better for everyone if this is handled privately. Went downstairs, made himself tea in their kitchen with magic, deliberately letting them hear the sounds of casual impossibility from below. 45 minutes later they came down. They'd made their choice. Hermione cried the entire way to Malfoy Manor. Lucius had given the Grangers the money, made them sign magical contracts, and then obliviated them thoroughly. They would remember no daughter, no 4 years of parenthood. Just a vague sense of loss they couldn't name. It was monstrous. Lucius knew it was monstrous. He did it anyway. At the manor, Narcissa took one look at the sobbing child, and something in her face softened. She'd been expecting this. Lucius had sent word ahead via Flu. Come here, darling, Narcissa said gently, kneeling down to Hermione's level. I know you're scared. I know you miss your parents. But they couldn't give you what you need. We can. I want my mummy, Hermione sobbed. I know. Narcissa pulled her into a hug. But you're going to have a new family now. A magical family. Would you like to meet your brothers? Hermione hiccuped. Brothers? Narcissa led her upstairs to the playroom where Harry and Draco were building a castle out of enchanted blocks that rearranged themselves. Harry looked up first. He was 2.5, small for his age, with messy black hair and bright green eyes behind little round glasses Narcissa had commissioned. The moment he saw Hermione crying, he abandoned the blocks and walked over. Why are you sad? Harry asked. I want my mummy, Hermione whispered. Harry thought about this very seriously, then he took her hand. You can have my mummy now. Mummy Narcissa is nice. She reads to us every night. And you can play with us, Draco added, joining them. He was bigger than Harry, blond and imperious even at 4. We're building a castle. Do you want to help? Hermione looked at the two boys, at the magical blocks, at Narcissa's gentle smile. She didn't stop missing her parents. But slowly, very slowly, she nodded. Okay, she whispered. Harry grinned. You're my sister now. I'm not legally your sister. Don't care, Harry said. You're my sister anyway. And Hermione, brilliant even at 4, looked at this strange boy with messy hair and decided that maybe, just maybe, this could be okay. She hugged him back. Narcissa watched from the doorway, her hand pressed to her mouth. Lucius stood beside her. 3 weapons, he murmured. The boy who lived, the prodigy, the heir. Together, they'll be unstoppable. They're children, Lucius. They're investments. But even Lucius couldn't fully hide the softness in his voice as he watched Harry carefully explain to Hermione how the enchanted blocks worked. That evening, Lucius summoned his house elf, Dobby. Master called? Dobby squeaked. I need you to forge documents, Lucius said. Genealogy records. I want Hermione Granger connected to the Dagworth Granger line. Hector Dagworth Granger, the Potioneer. Make it look like she's descended from a squib branch that went Muggle 3 generations ago. Can you do this? Dobby's ears drooped. Dobby must be asking, why does Master want to lie? Because the truth would make her a target. Muggleborns are despised by half the families in Britain. But if she's a squib descendant, a lost daughter of an old magical line, she becomes acceptable. Tragic, even. An orphan I've rescued from obscurity. Lucius pulled out parchment and began drafting the story himself. It had to be perfect. Airtight. The official story: Hermione Granger is the last surviving descendant of Hector Dagworth Granger through a squib line. Her great-great-grandfather was a squib who emigrated to Muggle society, married a Muggle woman, and the family forgot their magical heritage. When Hermione's magic manifested, it was a return to form, proof that magical blood cannot be fully suppressed. Her parents, Muggles, dentists, were killed in a tragic car accident. Having no other family and recognizing her connection to an old magical line, Lord Malfoy took her in as a ward of House Malfoy. By morning, the documents were complete. Dobby had forged genealogy records at the Ministry, in the Hall of Records, in 3 private magical archives. Anyone investigating Hermione's background would find the exact same story. Lucius filed the papers himself, walking them through the Department of Magical Family Services. The clerk barely glanced at them. Another orphan, Lord Malfoy? The magical world is full of them after the war, Lucius said smoothly. I'm simply doing my part. The clerk stamped the forms. Approved. Hermione Granger, Muggle-born daughter of dentists, ceased to exist in official records. Hermione Granger, squib descendant of the Dagworth Granger line, ward of House Malfoy, was born. Daily Prophet, June 15, 1983. Malfoy family takes in second orphan. Dagworth Granger, heir discovered after tragic accident. By Rita Skeeter. In a heartwarming continuation of his charitable works, Lord Lucius Malfoy has taken in a second orphaned magical child, 4-year-old Hermione Granger, last known descendant of the famous potioneer Hector Dagworth Granger. Ministry records confirm that Miss Granger is the product of a squib line that had been living among Muggles for 3 generations. Her magical abilities manifested earlier this month, shortly before her parents, both Muggle dentists, were killed in a devastating car accident. When I learned of Hermione's circumstances, I knew I had to help, Lord Malfoy stated. The Dagworth Granger line is an old and respected name in potion-making circles. To let the last of that line languish in Muggle orphanages would be a tragedy. Miss Granger will be raised alongside Lord Malfoy's son Draco and Ward Harry Potter at Malfoy Manor. Sources close to the family report that the 3 children have bonded remarkably quickly. It's like they were always meant to be siblings, said one anonymous friend of the family. Hermione is extraordinarily bright. She'll fit right in. Critics of Lord Malfoy's growing influence over orphan magical children have been largely silent, as both adoptions were conducted through proper legal channels and have been praised by child welfare advocates. Lord Malfoy is providing these children with opportunities they would never have otherwise, said Department of Magical Family Services Director Amelia Bones. We should be grateful for his generosity. The wizarding world continues to watch the Malfoy household with interest, wondering what will become of this unusual family. Dumbledore read the article 3 times. He's building an army, Dumbledore said to McGonagall in his office. Harry Potter, a Muggle-born prodigy, his own son, all raised together, loyal to him above all else. The girl's lineage checks out, McGonagall said stiffly. She'd investigated personally. Dagworth Granger, squib line. It's all documented, Dumbledore murmured. Too perfect, but I can prove nothing. What will you do? Wait. Dumbledore looked at Fawkes, who trilled softly. They will come to Hogwarts in 8 years. When they do, I will have my chance to reach them, to show them there is more to magic than Lucius Malfoy's ideology. And if they're already too far gone, then I will have failed Lily and James more completely than I ever imagined possible. The years that followed were a carefully orchestrated performance. Harry was 3, Hermione was 5, Draco was 6. They were taught etiquette by Narcissa, how to sit at formal dinners, how to greet ministry officials, how to smile for cameras. The Daily Prophet photographed them regularly, the Malfoy children at the Ministry Yule Gala. Young Harry Potter and friends attend Quidditch World Cup. Harry hated the attention at first, all the staring, the whispers. But Lucius taught him how to use it. You're the boy who lived, Lucius explained when Harry was 4. They were in Lucius's study, Harry sitting in an oversized chair with his feet dangling. People will always watch you, always judge you, so give them what they want to see. Smile, wave, be charming, let them love you. And then, when you need something from them, they'll give it to you because they already think you're wonderful. That's manipulative, Hermione said from the corner, where she was reading a book on basic charms. She was 5 and already reading at a 3rd-year Hogwarts level. That's politics, Lucius corrected. And you're going to learn it too, Hermione. All 3 of you will. Lucius hired a tutor, an old witch named Cassiopeia Greengrass, a distant relative who'd studied Eastern magical techniques. She was ancient, severe, and absolutely brilliant. Magic comes from intent, she told the 3 children in the manners practice room. The wand is a focus, a tool, but the power is inside you. Close your eyes, all of you. Feel the magic in your core. Harry, age 4, screwed his eyes shut and concentrated. He could feel something inside him, warm and bright, like a sun behind his ribs. Good, Cassiopeia said. Now, without your wands, you don't have wands yet anyway. I want you to make something move. Anything. Just with your will. Hermione succeeded first. A book lifted off the table, hovering 3 inches in the air before dropping. Excellent, child. Again. Draco managed it next, levitating a quill. Harry struggled. He could feel the magic, could sense it wanting to burst out, but he couldn't direct it. Frustration built in his chest, hot and sharp, and suddenly every object in the room flew into the air at once. Books, quills, furniture, all of it spinning in a chaotic storm. Cassiopeia's wand flicked. Everything settled gently to the ground. Control, she said sharply to Harry. Power without control is useless. You have more raw magic than your siblings, Harry Potter, but that means nothing if you can't direct it. Again. One object this time. Just one. By age 6, Harry could summon small objects without a wand. Hermione could produce light, a wandless lumos that made her hands glow. Draco could levitate things with precision, moving them exactly where he wanted. Potions lessons began with Severus Snape. Snape arrived at Malfoy Manor on a cold November morning, his black robes billowing even indoors. He looked at the 3 children assembled in the potions laboratory Lucius had built in the dungeons, complete with cauldrons, ingredient stores, and safety equipment that would make Hogwarts jealous. I am Professor Snape, he said coldly. You will address me as Professor or Sir. You will follow my instructions precisely. Potions is an exact science. There is no room for creativity, no room for deviation. Is that understood? Yes, sir, Hermione said immediately. Yes, Professor, Draco echoed. Harry just stared at Snape with those bright green eyes. Lily's eyes. Snape felt something twist in his chest. Potter, do you understand? Yes, Professor. Harry's voice was small but steady. But I have a question. What? If potions is exact, with no room for creativity, then how did people invent new potions? Someone had to deviate from the standard recipes to create something new, right? Snape went very still. Hermione's eyes widened. Draco looked nervous. Then, impossibly, Snape's mouth twitched. Almost a smile. 10 points to, well, you're not in Hogwarts yet, but well-reasoned, Potter. The creativity comes in research and development. Once a potion is perfected, it must be followed exactly. But you're correct that innovation requires experimentation. He pulled out a vial of silvery liquid. This is a simple sleeping draught. You're too young to brew it yourselves, but you're going to learn every ingredient, every step, every purpose. By the time you enter Hogwarts, you will know potions theory better than most 7th years. He was true to his word. Over the next 5 years, Snape taught them relentlessly. He was never warm, never kind, but he was fair. When Hermione answered questions correctly, he gave curt nods of approval. When Harry made connections between potion properties, Snape actually engaged him in theoretical discussions. When Draco struggled with memorization, Snape created mnemonic devices to help. And every time Harry looked at him with Lily's green eyes, Snape felt the wound in his heart tear open again. Dueling instruction began. Lucius hired a former Auror named Marcus Blackwood, a man who'd fought in the First War, lost an eye to a cutting curse, and retired with a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in combat. Dueling isn't about fancy wand work, Blackwood told them on the first day, his magical eye whirring as it focused on each child in turn. It's about staying alive while making your opponent dead, or at least incapacitated. Everything else is decoration. He taught them movement first, how to dodge, how to create distance, how to use environment. The practice room was filled with obstacles, and Blackwood would fire stinging hexes at them while they scrambled for cover. Faster, Draco. Potter, keep your wand up. Granger, don't think, react. Then spell chains. How to cast multiple spells in rapid succession, transitioning from defense to offense without pause. Shield, then disarm, then stun. One smooth motion. If you pause between spells, you're dead. Again. Harry took to it naturally. He was small, fast, and had excellent instincts. Blackwood said he fought like James Potter, aggressive, creative, always 3 steps ahead. Hermione learned the theory perfectly but struggled with the physical demands. She could recite every spell's wand movement, but hesitated in actual combat. "You're thinking too much," Blackwood told her after a particularly bad session. "Combat isn't a test, Granger, it's survival. Your brain is your best weapon, but sometimes you have to let your body react without thinking." "How do I do that?" "Practice until it's instinct. 1,000 repetitions until the spell is muscle memory." She practiced. Every evening, alone in her room, Hermione rehearsed wand movements until her arm ached. By 1989, she could chain spells as fast as Harry. Draco was the most ruthless duelist. He didn't have Harry's instincts or Hermione's intelligence, but he fought dirty, low blows, targeting injuries, using psychological warfare. "Good," Blackwood said approvingly when Draco used Tarantalegra on Harry mid-duel, making his legs dance uncontrollably before hitting him with a disarming charm. "There's no honor in death, only winners and losers." Lucius sat the 3 children down in his study when Harry was 7, Hermione was 9, and Draco was 10. "You're old enough now to understand how the world actually works," Lucius said. "Magic is power, but magic alone doesn't rule our world. Politics does, money does, influence does." He spent months teaching them the structure of the ministry, the different departments, which officials were corrupt, which were idealists, which could be bought. "The Wisengamot is where real power lies," Lucius explained. 50 members. I'm one of them. So is Dumbledore, though he attends rarely. Each member represents an old family or a powerful political bloc. If you want to pass a law, you need 26 votes. If you want to block a law, you need 25. Everything else is mathematics and persuasion. "How do you persuade them?" Harry asked. "Money, usually. Sometimes blackmail. Sometimes genuine appeals to their self-interest." Lucius pulled out files. "Let me show you how I secured the vote to defund Dumbledore's proposed werewolf registry in 1984. He taught them how to read people. Body language, tone, what wasn't being said. Politics is lying while smiling," Lucius said. "You'll need to master that." Hermione absorbed it like a sponge, memorizing every ministry official's voting record, every family alliance, every historical precedent. Draco learned to perform. The charming smile, the firm handshake, the ability to make people feel important. Harry learned to read the game behind the game, to see what people wanted and how to give it to them in exchange for what he needed. By 1990, at age 9, Harry Potter could manipulate ministry officials better than most adults. The dark arts theory began. Lucius never taught them to cast unforgivables. That would be illegal, dangerous, and leave evidence. But he taught them the theory, how they worked, how to defend against them. "The killing curse is unstoppable by magical means," Lucius explained, showing them diagrams. "The only defense is not being hit. Dodge, shield yourself with physical objects. Never duel an opponent who's used Avada Kedavra unless you're absolutely certain you're faster." "What about the Cruciatus Curse?" Hermione asked, her face pale but determined. "Pain. Unimaginable pain. The only defense is occlumency, protecting your mind so you can remain conscious enough to escape, or simply avoid being hit." He taught them about Horcruxes in theory only, never revealing Voldemort had made them. "The darkest magic splits the soul through murder. It anchors you to life, but at the cost of your humanity. Never, under any circumstances, attempt this." "Why teach us this if we can't use it?" Draco asked. "Because your enemies will use it, and you need to know what you're facing." Occlumency training began with Snape. "Your mind is your most valuable asset," Snape told them in the dungeons, "and your greatest vulnerability. Legilumency allows skilled wizards to read thoughts, extract memories, detect lies. Occlumency is the defense." He taught them to build walls in their minds, to hide important memories behind false ones, to project thoughts that weren't real. Hermione mastered it first. Her organized mind took to structured mental defenses naturally. Harry struggled. His emotions were too close to the surface, his memories too vivid. Snape would break through his defenses easily in practice sessions, extracting whatever memory he targeted. Again, Snape said coldly after viewing a memory of Harry's first broom ride with Draco, "Your walls are pathetic, Potter. A first year could break through. Clear your mind. Again." It took Harry 2 years to build adequate mental shields. By 1992, he could hide specific memories, though Snape noted he'd never be a master occlumens. Too much emotion, too much passion. Draco was mediocre at occlumency, but didn't care. If someone's using legilimency on me, I'll just stun them first. The final year before Hogwarts, the three children were Harry, age 10, excellent duelist, natural leader, charming public persona, decent occlumens, skilled in wandless magic basics, advanced potion theory, could brew complex drafts under supervision. Hermione, age 11, oldest of the three, genius-level intellect, encyclopedic knowledge of magical theory, could recite entire textbooks, proficient duelist once she stopped overthinking, moderate wandless magic, exceptional occlumens. Draco, age 11, ruthless duelist, excellent at political manipulation, average academics, good enough but not brilliant, struggled with occlumency, competitive to the point of obsession. They were not normal children. They'd never played with other kids their age, never attended birthday parties or gone to muggle schools. Their entire world was Malfoy Manor, private tutors, ministry galas, and each other. "Do you think we'll fit in at Hogwarts?" Hermione asked one evening. They were in the library, their library, the one Lucius had given them, stocked with thousands of books. "We're not supposed to fit in," Harry said. He was sprawled in a chair, reading advanced defensive theory. "We're supposed to stand out." "Harry's right," Draco said. He was practicing wand movements in the corner. "We're Malfoys." "Well, Harry and Hermione aren't technically Malfoys, but—" "We're family," Harry interrupted. "That's all that matters." Hermione smiled. Family. The Silver Trio, the boy who lived, the prodigy squib descendant, and the Malfoy heir. Students who hadn't even met them were already choosing sides. They didn't know Dumbledore had spent 10 years preparing to save Harry Potter from the Malfoys. They didn't know that in Albania, a wraith named Voldemort was growing stronger, feeding on small animals and hatred, planning his return. All they knew was they had each other, and in the world Lucius Malfoy had built for them, that seemed like enough. September 1st, 1991, Platform 9 3/4. The Malfoy family didn't arrive through the barrier like common wizards, scrambling with luggage trolleys and crying children. They arrived via private portkey directly to a cordoned-off section of the platform, where ministry officials had established a security perimeter. Lucius stepped through first, silver-topped cane gleaming, robes immaculate. Narcissa followed, elegant and composed. Then came the children. Draco walked with his chin up, blonde hair perfectly styled, every inch the pureblood heir. Hermione moved beside him, her bushy hair tamed into an intricate braid woven with silver ribbons, her robes custom-tailored and expensive. She carried herself with quiet confidence, a leather book bag slung over one shoulder. And then Harry Potter stepped onto the platform. The station went silent. He was small for 10 years old, thin but not frail, wearing robes of deep emerald green that made his eyes almost luminous. His messy black hair was beyond taming. Narcissa had given up years ago, and the lightning bolt scar on his forehead was partially hidden beneath his fringe. Round glasses perched on his nose, identical to the ones his father had worn. He looked nothing like the scared orphan Dumbledore had tried to hide with muggles. He looked like exactly what Lucius had made him, a prince. Cameras flashed, Rita Skeeter materialized from nowhere. Quit quotes quill hovering. "Mr. Potter, Harry, how does it feel to finally be attending Hogwarts?" He smiled, charming, warm, utterly fabricated. "I'm excited to learn, Miss Skeeter. Hogwarts has an incredible history. I've read Hogwarts, a history cover to cover 3 times. Actually, I made him read it," Hermione interjected smoothly, stepping forward. "Harry tends to skim the boring bits." Laughter rippled through the nearby crowd. The tension broke. "And you must be Miss Granger," Rita's quill scratched furiously. "The Dagworth Granger heir. Tell me, dear, do you plan to follow in your ancestors' footsteps in potions?" "I don't believe in limiting myself to one discipline." Spoken like a true scholar, and young Mr. Malfoy. "We're going to miss the train," Draco interrupted coldly. He'd always hated Rita Skeeter. "If you'll excuse us." The trio moved toward the Hogwarts Express, a wave of ministry security and Malfoy house elves carrying their trunks. Other students parted like water, staring. At the edge of the crowd, a family of redheads watched, the Weasleys, Arthur in his shabby robes, Molly clutching a handkerchief, and their children, Bill, Charlie, Percy, Fred, George, Ron, and little Ginny. Ron Weasley, 11 years old and desperately trying not to gawk, watched Harry Potter walk past. The boy who lived, the most famous wizard in Britain. Raised by Lucius Malfoy, Ron's mother had told him stories. Poor Harry, she'd said 100 times. Stolen from his rightful home, raised by Death Eaters, corrupted before he could choose his own path. He looked confident, powerful, like he knew exactly who he was. "Don't stare, Ron," Percy hissed. "I'm not staring," Ron muttered. "Staring?" Harry noticed the red-headed family. He recognized Arthur Weasley from Ministry events, the man who worked in misuse of Muggle artifacts the blood traitor Lucius mocked at dinner. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Harry's expression didn't change. Polite, neutral. He nodded slightly, acknowledgement, nothing more, and continued walking. Ron felt something twist in his chest. Disappointment? He didn't know what he'd expected. Maybe for Harry to look miserable, trapped, desperate for rescue. Instead, Harry looked like he owned the world. The Hogwarts Express had a special compartment reserved for the Malfoys. First class, essentially. Larger than normal compartments, with plush seats, a privacy ward, and a house elf assigned to bring snacks. The trio settled in, trunks stowed overhead. Draco immediately sprawled across one bench. Hermione pulled out a book, Advanced Transfiguration Theory, because of course she did. Harry sat by the window, watching the platform. "Do you think Dumbledore will try something on the train?" Draco asked. No. Hermione didn't look up from her book. Too public. Too many witnesses. He'll wait until we're at Hogwarts, where he has home advantage. Father says Dumbledore's been planning this for 10 years. Harry turned from the window. He thinks once we're sorted, Dumbledore will assign professors to guide us toward the light or some nonsense. Do we? Hermione closed her book finally. I've been thinking about the sorting. Father expects us all to be Slytherin, but the hat judges based on our values, not our training. What if one of us isn't Slytherin? Then we're still family, Harry said immediately. House doesn't matter. It matters politically, Hermione countered. If we're split across houses, we lose the unified power base Father's been building. The Silver Trio narrative collapses. The hat takes your choice into account, Draco said. We just tell it we want Slytherin. Simple. Hermione looked skeptical but didn't argue further. The train lurched into motion. London disappeared behind them. An hour into the journey, someone knocked on their compartment door. Draco's hand went to his wand immediately, a reflex from years of dueling training. Who is it? The door slid open to reveal a round-faced boy with a toad clutched in his hands. Sorry to bother you, I'm looking for my toad. Trevor, he keeps escaping. Have you seen him? Harry recognized him from photographs in the Daily Prophet. The boy whose parents had been tortured into insanity by Bellatrix Lestrange, another victim of the war. No toad here, Draco said dismissively. Try further down. Neville's eyes fixed on Harry. You're Harry Potter. I am. My Gran talks about you. She says. Neville trailed off, looking uncertain. She says I should have been raised by my godfather, Sirius Black? Harry offered. Or by the Weasleys. Or literally anyone except Lucius Malfoy. Something like that. Sirius Black is in Azkaban for murdering 12 people and betraying my parents, Harry said calmly. The Weasleys are strangers. Lucius gave me a home when everyone else was too busy fighting over politics to care about an orphaned baby. So you can tell your Gran that I'm exactly where I belong. Neville backed away. Right. Sorry. I'll just find Trevor. He fled. Hermione sighed. You could have been nicer. Why? Harry looked genuinely confused. He came in here with preconceptions. I corrected them. You corrected them harshly. The truth is harsh. Harry pulled out a book of his own, Defensive Theory, From Basics to Battle. He'll either accept it or he won't. Either way, it's not my problem. Draco smirked. That's what Father always says. Not my problem. Father's usually right, Harry said. The journey continued. Other students tried to enter their compartment. Curiosity seekers mostly, but Draco turned them all away. By the time the train pulled into Hogsmeade Station, the trio had remained undisturbed in their private bubble, exactly as Lucius had planned. Furs years over here. Hagrid's voice boomed across the platform. The half-giant stood head and shoulders above everyone, lantern raised, directing the flood of 11-year-olds toward the boats. Harry saw him and went very still. This was the man who'd carried him away from his parents' bodies. The man who'd handed him over to Lucius instead of delivering him to the Dursleys, like Dumbledore had ordered. Hagrid had told this story to the Daily Prophet years ago, claiming he'd been tricked by legal paperwork he couldn't read properly. Lucius had paid Hagrid to say that. A sizable sum, actually, enough to keep him comfortable and quiet. Now Hagrid's eyes found Harry in the crowd, and something complicated passed across his face. Guilt? Regret? Relief? Potter, Hagrid rumbled. Good to see ye, Hagrid. Harry's voice was neutral. It's been a long time. Aye, you've grown. Hagrid looked at Hermione and Draco. All of ye. Right then, enter the boats. 4 to a boat, no more. The trio took a boat to themselves. No one dared join them. As they glided across the Black Lake, Hogwarts Castle rose from the darkness, all towers and torches and impossible architecture. Hermione gasped despite herself. It's beautiful. For the next 7 years, anyway. Harry said nothing. He was looking at the astronomy tower, where in another timeline, in another life, Dumbledore would eventually die, where Snape would kill him and break Harry's heart. But this wasn't that timeline. In this world, Harry's heart belonged to the Malfoys, and Dumbledore was just an old man who'd lost a chess game 10 years ago. The Great Hall was exactly as described in Hogwarts. A history, 4 long tables, floating candles, enchanted ceiling showing the night sky. The Sorting Hat sat on a stool at the front, patched and ancient. Professor McGonagall stood beside it, her expression stern as she surveyed the first years. Her eyes lingered on Harry Potter for a long moment. She'd known James and Lily, had taught them, had grieved them, and now their son stood before her, dressed in Malfoy colors, flanked by Lucius's spawn and a Muggle-born girl rebranded as pureblood. It made her sick. But she was a professional. She unrolled the parchment and began calling names. Abbott, Hannah. Students were called alphabetically, placed into houses, sent to their tables. Harry watched with detached interest, analyzing. Gryffindor was getting the brave and reckless. Ravenclaw took the clever. Hufflepuff collected the loyal. Slytherin, Bulstrode Millicent, Davis Tracy, Ravenclaw, Finch Fletchley, Justin. Hufflepuff, Granger, Hermione. The hall went silent. Hermione walked to the stool, head high, refusing to show nervousness. McGonagall placed the Sorting Hat on her head, and it slipped down over her eyes. Inside Hermione's mind, the hat spoke, well, well, well. What have we here? Brilliant mind, one of the finest I've encountered in decades. Ravenclaw would suit you perfectly. You could spend 7 years reading every book in the library, mastering every subject. I don't want Ravenclaw, Hermione thought firmly. No? Then where do you see yourself, Miss Granger? Or should I say Miss Dagworth Granger, though we both know that's a lie, don't we? Hermione's mental shield slammed into place, Snape's training paying off. The hat chuckled. Impressive oculancy for an 11-year-old. Your secrets are safe with me, child, but answer me truly. Why not Ravenclaw? Because knowledge without power is useless. I want to change the world, not just study it. Ambitious? Slytherin, then? Yes. You understand what that means? The prejudice you'll face? They'll call you mudblood behind your back, Hat Stall. Some will refuse to believe your fabricated lineage. Let them try. I've studied Wizengamot law since I was 7 years old. I can recite every pure-blood family tree in Britain. I know more about their own history than they do. And if anyone challenges me, I'll destroy them with the truth that Lucius Malfoy made me untouchable. And your Muggle parents, do you ever think of them? Every day. But they're gone. Obliviated. They don't remember I exist. Mourning them won't bring them back. So instead, I'll make their sacrifice mean something. I'll prove that Muggle-borns can be more powerful than any pure blood. The hat was silent for a long moment. You're going to be extraordinary, Hermione Granger. Terrifying, perhaps, but extraordinary. Very well. She met the eyes of every student who stared at her, daring them to comment. No one did. Longbottom Neville. Neville stumbled to the stool. The hat took 4 minutes, a hat stall, before shouting Gryffindor. Neville looked relieved as he joined the red and gold table. Malfoy Draco strode to the stool like he owned it. The hat barely touched his head before screaming, Slytherin! Draco smirked as he joined Hermione at the Slytherin table. Across the hall, the Gryffindors looked disgusted. The Ravenclaws looked thoughtful. The Hufflepuffs looked nervous. More names. Moon, Lily, Ravenclaw. Not Theodore, Slytherin, Parkinson, Pansy, Slytherin. Then, Potter, Harry. The whispers exploded into outright muttering, every eye in the hall fixed on Harry as he walked to the stool. He moved calmly, unhurried, like he'd done this 1,000 times in his mind. McGonagall's hands shook slightly as she placed the hat on his head. Inside Harry's mind, the hat spoke, and it sounded almost sad. Ah, yes, Harry Potter, I've been waiting for you. Have you? Difficult. Very difficult. Plenty of courage, I see. Your father's bravery lives in you. Not a bad mind either. Sharper than James was. More strategic. Loyal to those you love. And cunning. Oh, such cunning. You sound disappointed. I'm saddened by what could have been. In another life, Harry Potter, you would have been a Gryffindor. Like your parents. Like your godfather. You would have been a hero in the classical sense. Selfless, brave, fighting for the greater good. But I'm not that Harry Potter. No, you're Lucius Malfoy's weapon. Slytherin could help you on the way to greatness, Harry. Power, ambition, the willingness to do whatever it takes. I don't need help toward greatness. I need my family. Hermione and Draco are in Slytherin. That's where I belong. Family over principle. How very Slytherin of you. Is that a problem? It's a tragedy. You have your mother's capacity for love, Harry. Lily Potter died to save you. She gave you the power to choose compassion over ambition, and you're throwing it away. I'm choosing the people who raised me over the ghosts of parents I never knew. That is compassion, just not the kind you wanted from me. The hat sighed, an actual audible sigh that made students lean forward in their seats. Very well, you've made your choice. I only hope you don't regret it. Slytherin! The great hall erupted in chaos. The Slytherin table screamed their approval, pounding the table, chanting, "Potter! Potter! Potter!" They'd just gained the most famous wizard in Britain. The Gryffindor table looked stricken. Several students were crying, actual tears. Their hero, James and Lily's son, had been sorted into the House of Dark Wizards. The Ravenclaw table watched with academic interest, already recalculating their political strategies. The Hufflepuff table just looked sad. At the head table, Dumbledore's face was unreadable behind his half-moon spectacles, but his hands, folded on the table, were white-knuckled. Severus Snape, sitting 3 seats down, allowed himself the tiniest smirk. Lily's son in Slytherin. It was poetic in the worst possible way. Harry walked to the Slytherin table and sat between Hermione and Draco. The 3 of them together, united, exactly as Lucius had planned. "We did it," Draco whispered. "Of course we did," Hermione said. "Was there ever any doubt?" Harry looked up at the head table directly at Dumbledore. Their eyes met, and Harry smiled. It was a polite smile. A respectful smile. The smile of a student acknowledging his headmaster. But Dumbledore saw it for what it was, a declaration of war. The sorting continued. Weasley, Ronald, Gryffindor, Zabini, Blaise, Slytherin. When the last student was sorted, Dumbledore stood. The hall quieted. "Welcome," Dumbledore's voice was warm, grandfatherly, pitched to carry to every corner. "Welcome to another year at Hogwarts. Before we begin our feast, I have a few announcements. First years should note that the Forbidden Forest is, as its name suggests, forbidden to all students. Our caretaker, Mr. Filch, has asked me to remind you that magic is not permitted in the corridors between classes. And finally, I must tell you that this year, the 3rd-floor corridor on the right-hand side is out of bounds to anyone who does not wish to die a very painful death." Nervous laughter rippled through the hall. Harry's eyes narrowed. He's protecting something. No headmaster warns students away from an area unless there's something valuable there. The question is what? "We'll find out," Draco said. Dumbledore raised his hands. "Now, before we eat, let us sing the school song." What followed was the most chaotic, off-key rendition of a song Harry had ever heard. The Weasley twins sang it to a funeral march. Some students raced through it, others dragged it out. Dumbledore conducted with his wand, looking delighted. Harry found it utterly bizarre. Finally, blessedly, food appeared on the tables. Roast beef, chicken, pork chops, potatoes, vegetables, desserts. A feast that would have fed Malfoy Manor for a week. The Slytherin first years dug in, but Harry noticed something. The older students kept glancing at him, Hermione and Draco. Assessing. Calculating, a 5th-year prefect with sleek dark hair leaned over. "Potter, Malfoy, Granger. I'm Marcus Flint, Quidditch captain. We need to talk about house dynamics." "Go ahead," Harry said. "Slytherin operates on power structures. Traditional families at the top, half-bloods in the middle, Muggle-borns at the bottom. Except you 3 don't fit that structure. Potter, you're the boy who lived. Draco, you're a Malfoy. Granger, you're supposedly a squib descendant, but everyone knows that's—" Flint held up his hands. "I'm not challenging it. I'm saying you 3 are going to disrupt the natural order. Some students won't like that. We're here to lead. That's what I thought. Flint grinned. Good. Slytherin's been weak since the war. Too many students trying to distance themselves from the Dark Lord. We need new leadership. Just make sure you can back up the talk. We can, Harry said, and looking at the three of them, trained by Lucius Malfoy, taught by Severus Snape, prepared for exactly this moment. Flint believed him. The Slytherin common room was in the dungeons, naturally. Cool stone walls, green-tinted windows looking into the black lake, leather furniture arranged around a fireplace that burned with emerald flames. The first years were shown to their dormitories, boys on one side, girls on the other. Harry, Draco, Theodore Nott, Blaise Zabini, and another boy named Crabbe shared one room, 5 four-poster beds with green silk hangings, 5 trunks, 5 owls hooting in cages. Dibs on the bed by the window, Draco said immediately. You can't call dibs, Zabini said. He was dark-skinned, handsome, with a lazy drawl that suggested money and boredom. This isn't a muggle sleepover. Draco threw his trunk on the bed. Harry took the bed next to Draco's without comment. Nott took the one in the corner. He was quiet, watchful, the son of a Death Eater currently in Azkaban. Crabbe took the bed nearest the door. Zabini sighed and took the last one. So, Zabini said, lounging on his bed, Potter, the boy who lived, what's it like being famous? Annoying, Harry said honestly. People stare. They expect things. They want me to be a hero. Are you? A hero? I'm whatever I need to be. Harry opened his trunk, began unpacking. Right now, I need to be a student. Tomorrow, I need to be someone Dumbledore can't manipulate. Next week, who knows? Nott spoke for the first time. Your godfather, Sirius Black. Is it true he betrayed your parents? Harry paused. That's what the trial concluded. But do you believe it? I believe Sirius Black is in Azkaban and Lucius Malfoy raised me. That's all that matters. Cold, Zabini observed. I like it. They finished unpacking in silence. When Harry finally climbed into bed, pulling the green curtains closed around him, he allowed himself to exhale. Day 1 at Hogwarts. Complete. He'd been sorted into Slytherin. He'd declared his loyalty to the Malfoys publicly. He'd put Dumbledore on notice. Everything was going according to plan. So why did he feel a strange hollowness in his chest when he'd looked at the Gryffindor table and seen Neville Longbottom sitting where James Potter had once sat? Harry pushed the thought away. Sentiment was weakness. Lucius had taught him that. He fell asleep to the sound of the Black Lake lapping against the windows. The first week of Hogwarts was a careful dance. Classes began. Harry, Hermione, and Draco had their schedules coordinated. Lucius had arranged that with Dumbledore months ago, citing family cohesion for traumatized orphans. They took every class together. Transfiguration with Professor McGonagall was first. She turned her desk into a pig, and back again, then lectured on the basics of molecular transformation. Transfiguration is some of the most complex and dangerous magic you will learn at Hogwarts, McGonagall said sternly. Anyone messing around in my class will leave and not come back. You have been warned. She assigned them reading and gave them matches to turn into needles, a task no first year usually accomplished on the first try. Hermione did it in 15 minutes. Harry managed it in 20. Draco struggled for the full hour, and finally produced a needle that was still slightly wooden. McGonagall's lips thinned. Miss Granger, Mr. Potter, excellent work. 5 points each to Slytherin, though I expect nothing less from students who've clearly had extensive tutoring. It wasn't quite an accusation, but it was close. After class, Harry approached her desk. Professor, I wanted to introduce myself properly. I know you taught my parents. McGonagall's expression softened just slightly. I did. Your mother was one of my finest students. Your father was spirited. I wish I'd known them. As do I, Mr. Potter. She hesitated. If you ever need to talk about them or anything else, my door is open. But I have Lucius if I need to talk about my parents. The softness vanished. Of course you do. Dismissed. Harry left, feeling her eyes on his back. Charms with Professor Flitwick was more enjoyable. The tiny professor stood on a stack of books to see over his desk and taught with genuine enthusiasm. The levitation charm, Wingardium Leviosa, one of the most useful spells you'll learn. Now, swish and flick. Remember, swish and flick. Hermione had her feather floating within 2 minutes. Harry's floated shortly after. Across the room, Ron Weasley's feather caught on fire. His partner, a Gryffindor girl named Lavender Brown, shrieked and extinguished it with water from her goblet. "Mr. Weasley, you're stabbing, not swishing," Flitwick corrected gently. Harry watched Ron struggle, face red with frustration. The Weasley boy kept glancing at the Slytherin side of the room, where Harry, Hermione, and Draco had all succeeded effortlessly. The divide between them couldn't be clearer. Potions in the dungeons with Professor Snape was where things got interesting. Snape swept into the classroom, robes billowing, and began his speech about bottling fame and brewing glory. Then he started his questioning. "Potter," Snape's voice was cold. "What would I get if I added powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood? The draught of living death, sir. A powerful sleeping potion. Correct? Where would you look if I needed a bezoar? The stomach of a goat, sir. It's a universal antidote to most poisons. And what is the difference between monkshood and wolfsbane? Highly poisonous, but used in several potions including the wolfsbane potion, which allows werewolves to retain their human minds during transformation." "Correct. 5 points to Slytherin." Across the room, Ron whispered to Seamus Finnegan, "Of course Snape's giving points to the Slytherins. He's head of Slytherin House." Snape's head turned. "Weasley, since you seem eager to participate, tell me, what does bicorn horn do in a polyjuice potion?" Snape turned back to his cauldron. "Bicorn horn provides the genetic template for temporary transformation." "Miss Granger, since Potter has monopolized the questions, perhaps you can tell me the standard brewing time for a pepper-up potion? Though advanced brewers can reduce it to 3 hours and 45 minutes with proper heat regulation." "Impressive. 5 more points to Slytherin." The class continued. Snape was harsh but fair. He took points from Slytherins who made mistakes, praised Gryffindors who succeeded, though this was rare, and maintained absolute control of his classroom. But Harry noticed something. Every time Snape looked at him, there was a complexity in his expression. Not hatred, not favoritism, something complicated. After class, Snape called Harry back. "Potter, a word." Harry stayed behind while Hermione and Draco waited outside. "You've been practicing potions over the summer," Snape said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir, every day. Show me your prep work for the cure for boils we're brewing next class. I want to see your ingredient preparation technique." Harry pulled out his potions kit, custom made by Snape himself years ago, and demonstrated how he crushed snake fangs, measured nettles, prepared porcupine quills. Snape watched in silence. Then, "Adequate. You may go." "Sir, may I ask something?" "You may ask. I may not answer. Why did you agree to teach me when I was 7? You hated my father. You had no reason to help Lucius train me." Snape was very still. "Your father was an arrogant, bullying toe-rag who made my life at Hogwarts a misery. But you are not your father, Potter. You have your mother's eyes, and I owed her a debt I can never repay. Teaching you potions seemed a partial payment. You knew my mother well? We were friends, once, before I ruined it with my own stupidity." Snape's voice was distant. "Now get out of my classroom. I have essays to grade." Harry left, but the conversation stayed with him. The first month passed. October arrived, bringing cold wind and the promise of Halloween. Harry, Hermione, and Draco had established their dominance in Slytherin House. The older students acknowledged them. The younger students followed them. Even the pureblood supremacists like Pansy Parkinson and Millicent Bulstrode accepted Hermione's presence. She was too smart, too prepared, too connected to challenge. But outside Slytherin, tensions were rising. Gryffindors treated them like enemies. Ravenclaws studied them like specimens. Hufflepuffs avoided them entirely. And Dumbledore was watching. Harry felt it every time he entered the Great Hall. The headmaster's eyes, twinkling and ancient, tracking his every move. "He's going to make his move soon," Hermione said one evening in the common room. They were studying, or pretending to study. Really, they were analyzing political dynamics. "What kind of move?" Draco asked. "Isolation," Hermione said. "Dumbledore can't override the sorting, can't expel us, can't do anything direct. So he'll try to turn us against each other, or turn the school against us, or find some crisis that proves we need his guidance." "Let him try," Harry said. "We're ready." But he wasn't sure they were, because on October 31st, Halloween night, everything changed. The Halloween feast was spectacular. Thousands of live bats fluttering around the hall, jack-o'-lanterns floating near the ceiling, a feast that included candy and pumpkin pastries and roasted meats. Harry was halfway through his third helping of treacle tart when Professor Quirrell burst into the hall. His turban was askew, his face pale with terror. He ran to the head table, screaming, "Troll! Troll in the dungeons!" The hall erupted in panic. Students screamed. Dumbledore stood, raising his hands. "Silence! Instant quiet. Prefects, lead your houses back to the dormitories immediately. Teachers, follow me." The students began to move, but Harry grabbed Hermione and Draco, pulling them aside. "The dungeons?" Harry hissed. "Our common room is in the dungeons. Merlin's sake," Hermione breathed. "We can't go back there if there's a troll, which means this is either incredibly stupid or incredibly planned." Harry's mind was racing. Quirrell announced it in the hall instead of quietly alerting the teachers. Why? Unless he wanted everyone to know. Unless the troll is a distraction. "Distraction from what?" Draco demanded. "The third-floor corridor." Hermione's eyes went wide. Dumbledore said it was forbidden, that people would die. What if someone's using the troll to create chaos while they go after whatever's hidden there? "We should investigate," Harry said. "Are you insane?" Draco grabbed his arm. "There's a troll loose. Father would kill me if I let you die fighting a troll. Father trained us to fight." Harry pulled free. "Come on. If we're right, we need to know what's being protected. Information is power." They slipped away from the crowd, heading up instead of down. The third-floor corridor was deserted. Everyone was either hiding in common rooms or hunting the troll in the dungeons. They found the door Dumbledore had warned them about. It was locked. "Alohomora," Hermione whispered. Wand pointed at the lock. Click! The door swung open. Inside was a massive three-headed dog. Each head was the size of a bear's, teeth like daggers, drool pooling on the floor. It was standing on a trapdoor, all 6 eyes fixed on the 3 children. The dog growled, a sound like an avalanche. "Back away slowly," Harry said, hands raised. "Don't run. Don't." Harry shoved Hermione and Draco through the door, slamming it behind them. The dog's teeth crashed into wood, splintering it. They ran. Behind them, the dog howled, battering the door. But the door held, barely. They didn't stop running until they reached Moaning Myrtle's bathroom on the 2nd floor, gasping for breath. "Three-headed dog," Draco panted. "Guarding a trapdoor." "Fluffy," Hermione said suddenly. "What?" "That's Fluffy. Hagrid mentioned him once at a ministry event last year. He said he'd loaned Dumbledore a creature for protection. That must be it. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's valuable enough to risk students' lives guarding it." They stood in silence, processing. Then Draco said, "We need to tell Father." "Agreed," Harry said. "But we also need to figure out who the troll was a distraction for. Someone tried to get past that dog tonight. We need to know who." "And why," Hermione added. "The troll was caught an hour later, knocked out in the dungeons by Professor Quirrell, ironically enough. No students were hurt. The crisis was over." But Harry lay awake that night, staring at the canopy of his 4-poster bed, thinking about 3-headed dogs and locked doors, and secrets Dumbledore was keeping. Information was power, and Harry Potter was going to learn every secret Hogwarts held. November brought the first Quidditch match, Slytherin versus Gryffindor. Harry wasn't playing, first years weren't allowed on house teams, but he sat in the stands with Hermione, watching Draco cheer himself hoarse. Marcus Flint was Slytherin's seeker and captain. He was brutal, aggressive, willing to foul. The Gryffindor seeker was a third-year girl who flew well but cautiously. Slytherin won, 2-3-0, 1-4-0. The Slytherin common room celebrated for hours. Harry watched students get drunk on butterbeer and sing victory songs, and he felt nothing. This was supposed to be fun, competition, school spirit. Instead, it felt like practice for something bigger. Everything did. "You're brooding," Hermione said, sitting beside him. "I'm thinking, he raised us to be weapons. Slytherin royalty. But what's the endgame? What does he want us to do with all this power he's giving us?" "Rule," Hermione said simply. "The Wisengamot, the Ministry, eventually the whole wizarding world. He's building a dynasty through us." "And you're okay with that? Are you not?" Hermione looked at him seriously. "Harry, we're not normal children. We never were. Father took us, trained us, made us into something more. We can either resent it or use it. I choose to use it." "To do what?" "Whatever we want." Hermione smiled, a sharp, ambitious smile that reminded Harry of Lucius. "We're the Silver Trio, the boy who lived, the prodigy, and the heir. Together we can change everything. rewrite the laws, reform the ministry, maybe even make the wizarding world less bigoted and stupid. That's ambitious. That's the point. She stood. Come on. Draco's attempting to teach Crabbe and Goyle the lyrics to the Slytherin victory song. This will be painful to watch, but hilarious. Harry followed her, and for the first time in weeks he felt something other than calculation. He felt hope. Maybe they could change things. Maybe being Lucius's weapons didn't mean being only weapons. Maybe they could be heroes in their own way. December arrived, bringing snow and the announcement that students could stay at Hogwarts for Christmas or go home. Harry, Hermione, and Draco all planned to return to Malfoy Manor. But 2 days before break, Harry received a message via Owl. Dumbledore wanted to see him, privately. Harry showed the note to Hermione and Draco. Don't go. Draco said immediately, it's a trap. It's not a trap, Hermione said. Dumbledore can't do anything to Harry directly without causing a political scandal. But he wants to try persuasion, emotional manipulation. The I knew your parents' speech. So I should go, Harry asked. You should go and record it. Hermione pulled out a small device, a Remembrall modified to record conversations. Muggle technology adapted with magic. If Dumbledore says anything incriminating, we'll have proof. If he doesn't, at least we'll know his strategy. Harry took the device. You're brilliant. I know. Dumbledore's office was accessed via a gargoyle that required a password. Harry gave the password the headmaster had included in his note. Fizzing Whizbees. The gargoyle leaped aside. Harry climbed the spiral staircase and knocked. Enter. The office was exactly as described in every book Harry had read about Hogwarts. Circular room, portraits of former headmasters sleeping in frames, silver instruments whirring on tables, and Fawkes the Phoenix on his perch, watching Harry with intelligent eyes. Dumbledore sat behind his desk, looking older than his years. Harry, thank you for coming. Please sit. Lemon drop? No thank you, sir. Harry sat, keeping his expression neutral. The recording device was in his pocket, already activated. I wanted to speak with you, Dumbledore began, because I knew your parents very well. James and Lily Potter were two of the finest people I've ever had the privilege to teach. I've heard. They loved you very much, Harry. Everything they did, every choice they made, was to protect you. And yet they're dead, and I'm alive. Protected by Lucius Malfoy, not by you. Dumbledore flinched. I made mistakes, Harry. I admit that freely. I should have claimed guardianship of you immediately. I should have fought harder. But I was trying to do what I thought was best. By sending me to Muggles who would have hated me. By hiding me away like a shameful secret. The Dursleys were your blood relatives. They could have provided protection. They were strangers. Lucius gave me a family, a home. Training everything I needed to become who I am. Dumbledore leaned forward. And who are you, Harry? I'm Harry Potter, the boy who lived. Heir to House Potter. Ward of House Malfoy. Student at Hogwarts. Slytherin. You're also Lily and James's son. That legacy matters. Does it? They're gone, Headmaster. I never knew them. All I have are stories from people like you, telling me what they would have wanted. But you didn't raise me. Lucius did. So forgive me if I value his opinion over yours. Lucius Malfoy is a Death Eater. Alleged, never proven, never charged. Harry's voice was ice, unlike Sirius Black, who was convicted of murdering 12 people. Sirius was innocent. Peter Pettigrew was the traitor. Then why is Sirius still in Azkaban? Dumbledore had no answer. Harry stood. Is there anything else, Headmaster? Because if this is just you trying to convince me I'm being manipulated, you're wasting both our time. I'm trying to save you, Harry. From what? A loving family? Excellent education? Political power? Wealth? Everything a child could want? Harry's laugh was bitter. You're 10 years too late to save me, Professor. I'm exactly where I want to be. That night, Harry, Hermione, and Draco listened to the recording in the Slytherin common room, huddled around the enchanted device. He's playing the guilt card, Hermione analyzed. Your parents, their legacy, what they would have wanted, classic emotional manipulation. It won't work, Harry said. I have no emotional connection to people I never met. But he'll keep trying, Draco warned. Dumbledore doesn't give up. Father says he's like a dog with a bone. Let him try. Harry pocketed the device. We expose him. They went to bed that night feeling victorious. But Harry dreamed of green eyes, his mother's eyes, and woke with tears on his face he couldn't explain. Christmas at Malfoy Manor was opulent. The entrance hall was decorated with silver and green garlands, enchanted snow falling from the ceiling but melting before it touched the floor. A massive tree in the drawing room covered in heirloom ornaments that sang carols in harmony. Lucius sat in his study with Harry, Hermione, and Draco on Christmas Eve, reviewing their first term. "Grades?" Lucius asked. "Outstanding in everything except history of magic," Hermione reported. "Professor Binns is literally a ghost who reads from a textbook. It's impossible to stay awake." "Acceptable." Harry? "Same as Hermione. Though Snape gave me an exceeds expectations in potions because I modified a sleeping draught to work faster, and he said I should have asked permission first." Lucius smiled. "Innovation punished by procedure. How very Severus. And you, Draco? Acceptable in most subjects. Outstanding in potions and defense. Exceeds expectations in everything else." "Good. All three of you performed adequately for first term." Lucius poured himself fire whiskey. "Now tell me about the three-headed dog." They'd sent him an owl about Fluffy immediately after Halloween. Now they explained everything. The troll, the distraction Quirrell's suspicious timing, the trapdoor. "Someone's trying to steal whatever's under that dog," Hermione concluded. "And I think it's Quirrell." "Why Quirrell?" Lucius asked. "He's the only professor who wasn't searching for the troll. He found it too quickly, and he stutters and acts weak. But I've seen him move, in the corridors, when he thinks no one's watching. He's not weak at all." "You're observant. Good." Lucius stood, walked to his bookshelves. The object being protected is the Philosopher's Stone, created by Nicholas Flamel, Dumbledore's old friend. It produces the elixir of life and transmutes base metals into gold. Dumbledore moved it from Gringotts to Hogwarts last summer, after a break-in attempt. "How do you know this?" Harry asked. "I have friends at Gringotts, and I make it my business to know what Dumbledore is hiding." Lucius pulled down a book. "The stone is protected by a series of challenges designed by the professors. Fluffy, obviously Hagrid's contribution, then Devil's Snare, Professor Sprout, Flying Keys, Professor Flitwick, a giant chess set, Professor McGonagall, a logic puzzle involving potions, Professor Snape, and finally, the Mirror of Erised, Dumbledore's own trap." "The Mirror of Erised?" Hermione asked. "It shows you your deepest desire. Dumbledore's enchanted it so that only someone who wants to find the stone but not use it can retrieve it. A perfect trap for someone seeking immortality." Lucius closed the book. "The question is, who's after it?" "You know who," Harry said quietly. Everyone turned to stare at him. "Voldemort's not dead," Harry continued. "He can't be. You've told me before, Father. He was too powerful, too prepared. He wouldn't let himself die permanently. And if he's a wraith or spirit somewhere, he'd need the elixir of life to regain a body." Lucius's expression was carefully neutral. "That's a dangerous theory, Harry. Is it wrong?" "No." Lucius sat down heavily. "I believe the Dark Lord survived in some form. I don't know how. But a wraith needs a host. A servant." "Quirrell," Hermione breathed. "That's why he went to Albania last summer. The Daily Prophet mentioned it. Professor Quirrell taking a sabbatical to study dark creatures. Albania is where you-know-who was last seen." "Voldemort is possessing Quirrell," Harry said. "Using him to get to the stone. Then we need to stop him," Draco said immediately. "No." Lucius's voice was sharp. "You're 11 years old. If the Dark Lord truly is in that castle, you are not engaging him. Do you understand me?" "But Father, that is not a request, Draco. It's an order." Lucius looked at each of them. "I will handle this. I'll alert the Ministry. I'll pressure Dumbledore to increase security. But you three will stay away from that corridor. Promise me." They promised. They were lying. January 1992. Second term began. Harry couldn't stop thinking about the stone. If Voldemort was really in Quirrell, if he was really going to try stealing it, shouldn't someone stop him? Dumbledore clearly had a plan. The protections were too deliberate, too perfectly designed to test specific skills. This was a trap. Dumbledore was using the stone as bait. But for whom? Voldemort? Or Harry? "He wants you to go after it," Hermione said during a late-night strategy session in the common room. "Think about it. The challenges are designed for students, not adult wizards. Devil's Snare, first years learn about it in herbology. Flying Keys? Anyone who can ride a broom. Chess? McGonagall knows you've been playing since you were 6. Potions logic. Snape's specialty, but also something we could solve. And the mirror shows you your deepest desire. What would I see in the mirror, Harry wondered. Something Dumbledore wants you to see, something that makes you choose not to use the stone. Hermione's eyes narrowed. He's testing you, seeing if you're still good, despite the Malfoy upbringing. That's Dumbledore. February arrived. Harry began having dreams. Not normal dreams, visions. He saw a classroom from a perspective that wasn't his own. Saw students through eyes that felt wrong, cold, hungry. Saw Quirrell's face in a mirror, but behind him something else. A shadowy form. Red eyes. He told Hermione and Draco. They told Lucius via owl. Lucius's response was immediate. Do not investigate. Come home this weekend. This is not optional. In his study, Lucius paced while Severus Snape sat in the corner, watching. Visions, Lucius said. You're seeing through someone else's perspective? Or whoever's possessing him. The Dark Lord, Snape said quietly. When he tried to kill you as an infant, he transferred some of his power. Created a connection. You're seeing through his eyes because part of his soul attached to yours. The room went silent. What do you mean attached? Hermione demanded. Snape looked at Lucius. Should I tell them? Lucius sat down, suddenly looking older. Harry, when Voldemort tried to kill you, he was already damaged. He'd split his soul multiple times through murder, creating Horcruxes, objects that anchor a piece of soul to the living world. When his killing curse rebounded, a fragment of his soul latched onto the only living thing in the room. You. Harry felt cold. I'm a Horcrux, an accidental one. You're not an object. You're a living vessel. As long as that fragment exists, Voldemort cannot truly die. So kill me and Voldemort dies. Harry's voice was flat. No. Narcissa appeared in the doorway. She'd been listening. We're not killing you. We'll find another way. There might be one, Snape said. Horcruxes can be destroyed without destroying the container, if the container is alive and the fragment is separated through magical means. But it would require immense power and knowledge we don't currently possess. Then we acquire that knowledge, Hermione said fiercely. We research. We find a way. In the meantime, Lucius said, Harry, you need to learn occlumency specifically to block the connection to Voldemort. Severus, I'm asking you to intensify his training. I'll begin tonight, Snape said. The occlumency training was brutal. Every night that weekend, Snape invaded Harry's mind with legomancy, ripping through his memories, forcing Harry to rebuild his defenses while under assault. You're too emotional, Snape snarled after breaking through for the 5th time. Voldemort will exploit that. Clear your mind. I'm trying. Trying is failing again. By Sunday night, Harry could hold Snape out for 30 seconds. It wasn't enough, but it was progress. The visions will continue, Snape warned. But with practice, you can close the connection when you need to. Keep training. Every night. No exceptions. March brought the revelation they'd been dreading. Quirrell made his move. It happened on a Friday night. Harry woke from a vision, Quirrell standing before the mirror of Erised, demanding the stone, failing, screaming in frustration. Behind him, Voldemort's voice. The boy! Bring me the boy! He can retrieve it. Harry sat up, sweating. Hermione was already at his door. She'd been sleeping in the common room, keeping watch. You saw something. Quirrell's going for the stone, tonight. We need to stop him. Father said, Father isn't here. Hermione's voice was steel. And if Voldemort gets the stone, he returns to power. Lucius isn't ready. We have to stop him now. Draco appeared, already dressed. I'm coming too. This is insane, Harry said. This is necessary, Hermione corrected. Now move. They crept through the castle at midnight, using the disillusionment charm Lucius had taught them. The 3rd-floor corridor was dark, abandoned. The door to Fluffy's chamber was already ajar. Inside, the 3-headed dog was asleep, music playing from a harp in the corner. Someone had already been through. Quirrell's ahead of us, Draco whispered. They dropped through the trapdoor, landing in Devil's Snare. The plant immediately began wrapping around them, squeezing. Relax, Hermione shouted. It constricts when you struggle. Harry forced himself to go limp. The plant loosened, and he dropped through to the floor below. Hermione and Draco followed seconds later. The next room contained flying keys. Hundreds of them, swarming like insects. One door, locked, requiring the right key. There, Harry pointed to a silver key with a bent wing. That one's been damaged. Someone caught it recently. Harry was the fastest flyer. Years of practice with Lucius's personal Quidditch pitch. He caught the key in under a minute. The door opened to the chest chamber. The board was massive, pieces the size of adults carved from black stone. To cross, they had to play. "I'll play," Draco said immediately. He was the best chess player of the three. "You two are the pieces." Draco directed them like a general. He sacrificed pawns ruthlessly, traded pieces without hesitation, drove forward with single-minded focus. 20 minutes later, he'd won. Checkmate. Draco stepped off the board, breathing hard. "Let's go." The next chamber contained the potion's logic puzzle. 7 bottles, a riddle written on parchment. Hermione solved it in 90 seconds. This one goes forward, this one goes back. The rest are poison or nettle wine. "Then I go alone," Harry said. "Harry, he wants me specifically. The mirror will only work for me. You two can't help in there." Harry looked at them. "If I don't come back, get Dumbledore, get Snape, get anyone." "You're coming back," Draco said fiercely. "You're Harry Bloody Potter. Act like it." Harry drank the potion and walked through the flames. The final chamber was circular, empty except for the mirror of Erised standing in the center. Quirrell stood before it, his back to Harry. "I was wondering when you'd arrive," Quirrell said. His voice was different, no stutter, no weakness. The famous Harry Potter, the boy who lived. Not just Quirrell anymore. Quirrell turned and Harry saw it. The back of his turban was moving, writhing. "Show him, servant. Show him what we've become." On the back of his head was a face, flat, serpentine with slits for nostrils and burning red eyes. "Voldemort. Harry Potter," the face hissed. "We meet at last." Harry's scar exploded with pain. He dropped to one knee, gasping. "The connection," Voldemort said. "You feel it. Part of my soul, living inside you. We're linked, Harry. Forever." "You're a parasite," Harry spat. "A fragment. Not even a real person anymore. I am more than a person. I am immortal. Unkillable. And with the stone, I will have a body again. A true body. Not this half-life. The mirror won't give it to you. Dumbledore enchanted it. But it will give it to you." Voldemort smiled. "A terrible expression. Look into the mirror, Harry. Tell me what you see." Harry stood slowly and approached the mirror. He looked into its surface. He saw himself. But different. Older, maybe 17 or 18. He was standing in the Wizengamot chamber, wearing formal robes, speaking to an assembly. Beside him stood Hermione and Draco, equally aged. They looked powerful, united, triumphant. His reflection smiled and reached into its pocket. It pulled out a blood-red stone. The Philosopher's Stone winked at Harry and put it back. Harry felt weight in his real pocket. He had the stone. "What do you see?" Voldemort demanded. Harry made a split-second decision. He couldn't fight Voldemort directly. The connection would give Voldemort access to his mind. He couldn't destroy the stone here. It might be their only leverage. He had one option. Run. "I see myself shaking hands with you," Harry lied. "Working together, ruling the wizarding world." Voldemort's red eyes gleamed. "Yes, you understand. Lucius raised you well. The Malfoy way. Power, ambition, the willingness to do whatever it takes. Join me, Harry. Together, we could—" Harry hit him with a stunning spell. Quirrell's body convulsed. Voldemort screamed, a sound like tearing metal, and Quirrell lunged forward. His hands closed around Harry's throat. Instantly, Quirrell began to burn. His hands blistered, skin charring, smoking. He screamed and pulled back. "What is this?" Voldemort shrieked. Harry understood. "My mother's protection. She died to save me. Love magic. Ancient magic. You can't touch me without burning. Impossible. Not impossible. Just something you've never understood." Harry raised his wand, ignoring the pain in his scar. Incendio. Fire erupted from his wand. Not a first-year spell, something Lucius had taught him in private. Quirrell's robes caught flame. He stumbled backward, trying to extinguish himself. The flames behind Harry, the ones blocking the entrance, suddenly extinguished. Dumbledore swept through, Snape right behind him, wands raised. "Harry! Down!" Snape shouted. Harry dropped. Twin jets of magic, one blue, one red, struck Quirrell. The possessed professor collapsed, convulsing. Voldemort's wraith tore free from Quirrell's body, a dark shadow with burning eyes. It shrieked once, a sound of pure hatred, and fled through the wall. Quirrell lay motionless, dead. Dumbledore knelt beside him, checking for a pulse. Gone. The possession drained him. Snape moved to Harry. "Are you hurt?" "My scar. It burns. The connection. Voldemort touched your mind. Snape pulled out a vial. Drink this. Pain reliever. Harry drank, tasting bitterness. The pain faded to a dull throb. Dumbledore stood. Harry, do you have the stone? Harry's hand went to his pocket. He felt the weight there. He could lie, could claim he didn't have it, could... Hermione and Draco burst through the flames, wands raised, ready to fight. They saw Quirrell's corpse, saw Dumbledore and Snape, saw Harry alive. Harry, Hermione ran to him. We heard screaming. I'm fine. Harry looked at Dumbledore. I have the stone. He pulled it from his pocket. The Philosopher's Stone gleamed in his palm, warm and alive with magic. Dumbledore extended his hand. I'll keep it safe. Will you? Harry didn't move. Or will you use it as bait again? Risk more students' lives? Harry, I understand you're angry, but you set a trap. You knew someone would go after the stone. You designed the challenges to be passable by students. You wanted me to come here. Harry's voice was hard. This whole thing was a test for me. Dumbledore's expression was complicated. I needed to know if Lucius had corrupted you completely, if you would choose power or sacrifice. And you risked your life to stop Voldemort. You protected your friends. You used your mother's love as a weapon. Dumbledore smiled sadly. You passed, Harry. Despite everything, you're still Lily's son. I'm also Lucius's son. Harry closed his hand around the stone. And he taught me that information is power. You owe me answers. What is this stone really? Why is it so important? Then, come to my office, all of you. I'll explain everything. In Dumbledore's office, surrounded by whirring instruments and sleeping portraits, Dumbledore told them about Nicholas Flamel, the 665-year-old alchemist who'd created the stone, who'd lived for centuries on the elixir of life. Nicholas and I have discussed this extensively, Dumbledore said. He's decided to destroy the stone. He's lived long enough. Death is merely the next great adventure. That's poetic, Hermione said, but foolish. The stone represents knowledge, alchemy, immortality. Destroying it is destroying centuries of research. The stone is too dangerous to exist. Voldemort will never stop hunting it. Then hide it better, Draco said. Don't destroy irreplaceable magical artifacts because you're afraid of them. This isn't your decision to make, Dumbledore said gently but firmly. The stone belongs to Nicholas Flamel. He's chosen to end his life on his own terms. Harry looked at the stone in his hand. He could feel its power thrumming against his skin. He thought about what Lucius would do. Lucius would keep it, study it, use it. But Harry also thought about Quirrell's corpse, about Voldemort's wraith, desperate and hungry and willing to possess a man to the point of death. He handed the stone to Dumbledore. Destroy it, Harry said. You're right. It's too dangerous. Dumbledore took the stone, and something in his eyes softened. Thank you, Harry. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because keeping the stone would make my family a target. Voldemort would come for us. I won't risk that. Nevertheless, you made the right choice. Harry stood. Are we free to go? One more thing. Dumbledore pulled out a ledger. House points. For stopping a possessed professor and preventing Voldemort's return. 50 points each to Slytherin. For breaking approximately 47 school rules to do so, 25 points deducted from each of you. Net gain, 75 points to Slytherin. How generous, Hermione said dryly. They left Dumbledore's office and didn't speak until they reached the Slytherin common room. Then Draco started laughing. We fought Voldemort. Actually fought him and won. We survived, Hermione corrected. Barely if Dumbledore hadn't arrived. But he did, because he was watching. Like he always is. Harry collapsed into a chair. We need to be smarter. We can't keep reacting to threats. We need to anticipate them. Agreed, Hermione said. Starting with researching Horcruxes. If Voldemort made multiple, we need to find and destroy them. Father will help, Draco said. He has access to dark arts texts the Ministry banned. Harry nodded. Then we plan. We research. We prepare. Because Voldemort's not dead. He's just delayed. They didn't know that in Albania, Voldemort's wraith was already seeking a new servant. Someone more loyal, more powerful, more willing to sacrifice everything. They didn't know that the Second War was beginning. But they'd learn soon enough. Summer 1992. Lucius listened to their report of the stone incident with an expression that cycled through fury, pride, and calculation. You directly disobeyed me, Lucius said coldly. "We saved the stone from Voldemort," Harry countered. "You risked your lives. We won." Harry met Lucius's gaze steadily. "Isn't that what you raised us to do? Win." Lucius stared at him, then, impossibly, he laughed. "You're right. You won. Against a possessed professor and the Dark Lord's wraith, at 11 years old." He pulled Harry into a rare embrace. "Don't ever do that again." "I can't promise that. I know." Lucius released him. "Severus tells me you have a Horcrux fragment in your scar." "Yes." "Then we research. All of us. We find a way to remove it without killing you. And we find Voldemort's other Horcruxes." "How many do you think he made?" Hermione asked. "The darkest magic comes in sevens," Lucius said. "If Voldemort followed traditional dark arts numerology, he'd split his soul 7 ways. That means 6 Horcruxes plus the piece in his wraith form." 6? Draco looked ill. "We have to find and destroy 6 objects that could be literally anything? Bodiless. It will take him years to return to power. We use that time to hunt." 1992, 1994, the hunt. The research consumed them. Lucius accessed the Black family library, Narcissa's inheritance, which contained texts on soul magic banned by the Ministry for centuries. Hermione read everything. She cross-referenced dark arts theory with historical accounts of Voldemort's life, creating timelines and possibility maps. By Christmas 1992, they had a list of likely Horcruxes. Tom Riddle's diary, already destroyed by Harry in the Chamber of Secrets incident, though they didn't know it yet. Marvolo Gaunt's ring, family heirloom, likely location. Gaunt Shack ruins, Salazar Slytherin's locket, stolen from Hepzibah Smith, location unknown, Helga Hufflepuff's cup, stolen from Hepzibah Smith, possibly in Bellatrix Lestrange's Gringotts vault, Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem, lost for centuries, possibly at Hogwarts. Nagini, Voldemort's snake, with him wherever he is, Harry Potter, accidental Horcrux. 4 Founders artifacts, Lucius mused. Voldemort was obsessed with Hogwarts history. It fits his psychology. Second year, the Chamber of Secrets, 1992, 1993. The second year brought a new crisis. Students were being petrified. Messages appeared on walls written in blood. The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware. The trio investigated immediately. Harry could hear a voice in the walls, a cold, hissing voice speaking Parseltongue. "Rip, tear, kill." "You can hear it because you speak Parseltongue," Hermione realized. "Transferred from Voldemort, whatever's in the chamber is a serpent." They researched, found references to a monster Salazar Slytherin had left in a hidden chamber, a creature that killed with its gaze. "Basilisk," Hermione breathed. "It has to be. That's why students are being petrified instead of killed. They're seeing it through reflections or ghosts." But who opened the chamber? The answer came when Ginny Weasley was found unconscious in a bathroom, a black diary beside her. Harry picked up the diary. It was blank. But when he wrote in it, "Hello," words appeared in response. "Hello, Harry Potter. My name is Tom Riddle." The diary was a trap. A fragment of Voldemort's soul, preserved at age 16, possessing anyone who wrote in it. It had been possessing Ginny for months, forcing her to open the chamber, using her to control the basilisk. "This is a Horcrux," Harry said immediately. Lucius was summoned. He examined the diary with a mixture of fascination and horror. The Dark Lord at 16, before he became a monster. "This is invaluable. Then we destroy it, but first, we extract every piece of information we can." They questioned the diary Riddle carefully, pretending to be sympathetic. Riddle, arrogant and eager to boast, revealed how he'd opened the chamber originally, how he'd controlled the basilisk, how he'd created the diary as insurance against death. He doesn't know about the other Horcruxes, Hermione realized. Each piece doesn't know what the others are doing. With the information extracted, they lured Riddle into a trap. Harry agreed to help him return to life, brought the diary into the Chamber of Secrets, and then stabbed it with a basilisk fang. The diary screamed. Black ink spurted like blood. Tom Riddle's ghostly form erupted from the pages, shrieking, "You'll regret this, Potter. The Dark Lord will—" The form dissipated. The diary crumbled to ash. 1 Horcrux down. 6 to go. But Harry had also discovered something else in the chamber. The basilisk itself. Still alive, still deadly. Using Parseltongue, Harry commanded it. "Sleep, obey me. I am your master now. The basilisk, bred to obey the heir of Slytherin, obeyed. We're keeping it, Harry told Lucius later. Absolutely not. Father, it's a 60-foot magical serpent that kills with its gaze. That's a weapon. It's also incredibly dangerous and illegal to own. So are half the things in your study, Draco pointed out. Lucius sighed. If you can control it perfectly, if you can ensure it never harms an innocent person, and if you can keep it secret, fine. But this is on you, Harry. Harry returned to the chamber regularly over the next 5 years, training with the basilisk, learning to command it with increasing precision. By 1997, he could use it as an extension of his own will. 3rd year. The Sirius Revelation 1993. Sirius Black escaped from Azkaban. The wizarding world panicked. The Ministry deployed Dementors to guard Hogwarts. Wanted posters appeared everywhere. Sirius Black, dangerous murderer, approach with extreme caution. But Lucius received a letter via an untraceable owl. Lucius, I know you have Harry. I know you've raised him. I'm here to save him from you. Meet me at the Shrieking Shack in Hogsmeade on the first Hogsmeade weekend. Come alone, or I'll come to Malfoy Manor. Sirius? Lucius brought the letter to Harry. Your godfather wants to meet. He's an escaped convict. He's also innocent. I've done research. Peter Pettigrew was the secret keeper. Sirius was framed. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because knowing wouldn't change anything. Sirius was in Azkaban. You were with me. There was no point. There's a point now. He's free. He wants me back. Will you meet him? Lucius asked quietly. Yes, but I'm bringing Hermione and Draco. And you, this is a family decision. The meeting happened in October, in the Shrieking Shack, a supposedly haunted building on the outskirts of Hogsmeade. Sirius was there, gaunt and hollow-eyed, prison tattoos visible on his arms, his clothes ragged. He looked like death. But when he saw Harry, something in his eyes came alive. Harry, Sirius whispered. Merlin, you look just like James. I've been told. Harry's voice was neutral. You wanted to meet. We're here. I wanted to explain, to tell you the truth about what happened. I know the truth. Peter Pettigrew betrayed my parents. You were framed. You spent 12 years in Azkaban for crimes you didn't commit. Sirius looked shocked. You know? He told me everything. And you're still with him? Sirius's voice cracked. Harry, I'm your godfather. James and Lily chose me to raise you if anything happened to them. I should have been the one. You were in prison, Harry interrupted. You weren't there. Lucius was. Because he stole you. He saved me. From a life with muggles who would have hated me, he gave me a family, training, power, everything I needed to become who I am. Who you are. Sirius looked at Lucius with pure hatred. He made you into a Death Eater's son. He made me into a leader, Harry corrected. I'm not what you wanted me to be, Sirius. I'm not a Gryffindor hero. I'm not going to reject the Malfoys and run into your arms like some tragic orphan. I'm exactly where I want to be. Sirius's face crumpled. Lily and James would be ashamed. They're dead. Harry's voice was cold. You're the one who should be ashamed. You spent 12 years in prison while I grew up. You don't get to judge me now. I was trying to protect you. The family who raised me, the people who love me. Harry stepped closer. I have a father, I have a mother, I have a brother and a sister. I don't need you. Sirius looked at Narcissa, at Hermione and Draco standing protectively near Harry, at Lucius watching with carefully hidden satisfaction. This isn't over, Sirius said hoarsely. I'll find a way to prove I'm innocent. I'll clear my name. And then nothing, Harry said. Even if you're exonerated, even if the whole world knows you're innocent, you're still a stranger to me. I'm sorry for what happened to you. I'm sorry you lost 12 years. But I can't give you what you want. Sirius fled into the night, a black dog disappearing into shadows. Lucius put a hand on Harry's shoulder. That was difficult. That was necessary. Harry's voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. He wanted someone I'm not. I won't pretend to be that person. Hermione took his other hand. You did the right thing. But that night, alone in his dormitory, Harry dreamed of what might have been. A different life. A life where Sirius had raised him, where he'd grown up knowing his parents' friends, where he'd been a Gryffindor hero instead of a Slytherin prince. He woke with tears on his face and pushed the dreams away. Sentiment was weakness. He'd chosen his path. 4th and 5th year. The rise of the Silver Order 1994, 1996. The fourth year brought the Triwizard Tournament. Harry's name came out of the Goblet of Fire. Barty Crouch Jr.'s plot, just as in the original timeline, but with a critical difference. Harry was prepared. Lucius had taught him politics. Hermione had taught him strategy. Draco had taught him ruthlessness. The first task, Harry used Parseltongue to calm the Hungarian Horntail, then simply walked past it and took the golden egg. The crowd went wild. The second task, Harry transformed into his animagus form, a stag, and dove into the lake, retrieved both Hermione and Draco. He'd never let the tournament separate them, and surfaced within the time limit. Cedric Diggory saved his own hostage. Fleur failed. Victor Crumb succeeded but barely. The third task, the maze, Harry navigated it with Hermione's tactical planning and his own dueling skills. He reached the cup first, but when he touched it, he was portkeyed to a graveyard. Cedric appeared seconds later, touching the cup simultaneously. Peter Pettigrew was waiting. "Kill the spare," a cold voice hissed. Harry tackled Cedric out of the way. "Run." Cedric ran. Harry faced Pettigrew alone. "I don't think so, Harry Potter," Pettigrew said, wand raised. Harry hit him with a stunner. Pettigrew collapsed, but then the cauldron bubbled. The ritual had already begun. Bone of the father unknowingly given. Flesh of the servant willingly sacrificed. Blood of the enemy forcibly taken. A dark form rose from the cauldron. Lord Voldemort returned. He was skeletal, pale, red-eyed, but solid, real, alive. "Harry Potter," Voldemort hissed, "the boy who lived, come to die." Harry raised his wand. "I've been waiting for this." They dueled. Voldemort was powerful, ancient, skilled beyond measure. But Harry had something Voldemort didn't. Training. Years of preparation. And the connection. When their spells met, Voldemort's Avada Kedavra and Harry's Expelliarmus, priori incantatem, occurred. Their wands connected, brother wands forced to duel, and ghosts emerged from Voldemort's wand. Cedric's father, an old woman. Frank Bryce, Bertha Jorkins, and then James Potter, Lily Potter. Harry, Lily's ghost whispered, "You've grown so strong." "Hold on," James said. "When the connection breaks, run. We'll give you time." The connection shattered. The ghosts swarmed Voldemort. Harry grabbed the portkey cup, grabbed the stunned Pettigrew, and transported back to Hogwarts. He appeared in front of the crowd with Pettigrew's unconscious body. "Voldemort's back," Harry announced to the silent stadium. "He used Pettigrew in a resurrection ritual. I fought him. He's alive." But Cedric was alive. Pettigrew was captured, and Harry Potter had faced Voldemort and survived. The Ministry tried to deny it. Cornelius Fudge refused to believe. But Dumbledore used Veritaserum on Pettigrew, forced the truth out, and the wizarding world had to accept reality. Voldemort had returned. The Silver Order 1995-1997, Lucius faced an impossible choice: serve Voldemort or protect Harry. He chose Harry. "I'm done," Lucius told Narcissa in their bedroom. "I served the Dark Lord once. I won't do it again. Not when it means sacrificing our son. Let them try." Lucius publicly renounced Voldemort at a Wisengamot session, citing his devotion to his family over political ideology. Half the Death Eaters declared him a traitor. The other half secretly agreed. The Malfoy family became targets. So Harry, Hermione, and Draco formed their own organization, the Silver Order. They recruited students who were tired of choosing between Dumbledore's passive resistance and Voldemort's genocidal ambition. Students who wanted a third option. By sixth year, they had 50 members across all houses. Neville Longbottom joined, Luna Lovegood, Theodore Nott, even some Gryffindors like Dean Thomas and Seamus Finnegan. "We're not fighting for Dumbledore's vision," Harry told them at the first meeting. "We're not fighting for Voldemort's pureblood supremacy. We're fighting for a world where power matters more than blood, where competence matters more than heritage. We hunt Horcruxes. That's our primary mission. Everything else is secondary." Destroyed it with basilisk venom. They raided Bellatrix Lestrange's Gringotts vault using Polyjuice Potion, insider knowledge, and sheer audacity retrieved Hufflepuff's cup. Destroyed it. They found Ravenclaw's diadem in the Room of Requirement. Burned it with fiendfire that Hermione controlled with terrifying precision. By the end of sixth year, only 2 Horcruxes remained, Nagini and Harry himself. Seventh year, the final battle. 1997, the final confrontation didn't happen at Hogwarts. It happened at the Ministry of Magic. Voldemort, weakened by the destruction of his Horcruxes, attempted a coup. He stormed the Ministry with every Death Eater he could muster, intending to seize control and rule openly. The Silver Order was waiting. The battle raged through the Department of Mysteries, the Atrium, the Wizengamot chambers. Students fought alongside Aurors. The Order of the Phoenix joined. Even some reformed Death Eaters like Lucius fought against Voldemort. Draco dueled Bellatrix Lestrange, his mad aunt, and won, hitting her with a killing curse that ended her reign of terror permanently. Hermione coordinated the defense, directing forces like pieces on a chessboard, outmaneuvering Voldemort's chaos. Harry hunted Nagini. He found the snake in the Department of Mysteries, coiled around Voldemort like armor. Using Parseltongue, Harry commanded, "Come to me." Nagini hesitated, torn between Harry's Parseltongue authority and Voldemort's control. Harry used the basilisk. He'd brought it through the flue, hidden it in the department. Now he summoned it with a hiss. The basilisk emerged, 60 feet of serpent muscle and venom. It struck Nagini, fangs piercing scales, injecting venom. Nagini died thrashing. Voldemort felt it, felt the last Horcrux. Except Harry die. He became mortal. Voldemort found Harry in the atrium. The massive golden fountain had been destroyed, rubble everywhere, bodies of Death Eaters and Aurors scattered. "You," Voldemort hissed. "You destroyed them all." "Not all," Harry said. "One remains." He touched his scar, the fragment in you. Voldemort laughed, a cold, terrible sound. "You'd have to die to destroy it, and you're too much of a coward." "I'm my mother's son," Harry said. "She died for me. I'll die if I have to. Then die." Voldemort raised his wand. Avada Kedavra. Harry woke in a place that looked like King's Cross Station, but cleaner, brighter, empty. A small twisted thing lay under a bench. It looked like a maimed child whimpering. "The fragment," Dumbledore's voice said. Harry turned. Dumbledore stood there, looking younger, peaceful, dead. "This isn't real," Harry said. "It's real enough." Dumbledore gestured to the fragment. "That's the piece of Voldemort's soul that was in you. The killing curse destroyed it. You have a choice now. You can move on, board the train, find peace, or you can go back." "Back to what?" "To finish what you started. Voldemort is mortal now, killable, but someone has to kill him." "Why not just rest?" "Because you're not done, Harry. You've built something. The Silver Order, a third path. The wizarding world needs that, needs you." Harry looked at the fragment, the thing that had connected him to Voldemort for 16 years. It was pathetic, broken. "I'm going back," Harry said. "I thought you might." Dumbledore smiled. "Your mother would be proud, would she? I'm not the hero you wanted me to be. No, you're the hero you chose to be. That's better." Harry woke in the atrium. Voldemort stood over him, laughing. The boy who lived, dead at last. Harry opened his eyes. Voldemort's laughter died. Impossible. Drew his wand. Parseltongue hissed from his lips, and the basilisk struck from the shadows, sinking fangs into Voldemort's leg. Voldemort screamed, tried to apparate, failed. The Ministry's wards held. "You're mortal now. No Horcruxes, no safety net. Just you and me." They dueled. Voldemort was skilled, ancient, brilliant, but he was also desperate, weakened, poisoned. Harry was 17, trained by the best, fighting for his family. Their spells met one final time. Not priori incantatem this time. No brother wands. Voldemort had claimed the Elder Wand from Dumbledore's tomb, but the wand didn't recognize him as its master. The Elder Wand recognized Harry, because Harry had disarmed Draco, who had disarmed Dumbledore. The wand allegiance was Harry's. Voldemort's killing curse rebounded, struck him in the chest. Tom Riddle fell, dead, mortal, finished. The wizarding world erupted in celebration. Voldemort was dead. The Death Eaters surrendered or fled. The Ministry was in chaos. Fudge was dead, killed in the battle. The Wizengamot was decimated. Someone had to lead. Harry Potter, 17 years old, stepped forward. "The old order failed," he announced to the assembled witches and wizards. The Ministry was corrupt. Dumbledore's faction was passive. Voldemort's was genocidal. We need something new. He outlined a vision. A ministry based on merit, not blood. Laws that protected magical creatures. Education reform. Accountability for officials. The Wizengamot, desperate for stability, voted him interim Minister of Magic. Hermione became his chief advisor. Draco led the reformed Auror Corps. Lucius, pardoned for his defection, retained his Wizengamot seat. They rebuilt the wizarding world from the ground up. 19 years later, Platform 9 3/4, September 1st, 2017. Harry stood with Ginny, his wife, a Quidditch star, the one person who'd seen past his Slytherin prince exterior to the person underneath, and their 3 children. Beside them, Hermione and Ron Weasley. The friendship had been rocky at first, but they bonded during the war, with their 2 children, Draco and Astoria Greengrass, with their son Scorpius. The next generation, nervous, Ginny asked Harry's youngest son, Albus Severus. "What if I'm in Slytherin?" Albus asked. Harry knelt. "Then you'll be in Slytherin. Your mother was a Gryffindor. I'm a Slytherin. Your brother James is a Gryffindor. Your sister Lily will probably be a Ravenclaw knowing her. The house doesn't matter. But what if people think I'm dark? It's about ambition, resourcefulness, using power wisely." Harry smiled. "Your grandfather Lucius, he taught me that. Power isn't good or evil, it's what you do with it that matters." Albus hugged him. "I'll make you proud. You already do." The children boarded. The train departed. Harry watched it go, and Hermione stepped beside him. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked quietly. "The choices we made, every day," Harry admitted. "I wonder what would have happened if Sirius had raised me, if I'd been a Gryffindor. If I'd followed Dumbledore's path, and I wouldn't change anything. We built something better than what came before. The Ministry is reformed. Muggleborns have equal rights. Werewolves can work. House elves are free. We did that. We paid a price. Everything has a price." Harry looked at his family. Blood and chosen. But I'd pay it again. That evening, Harry visited Malfoy Manor. Lucius was older now, gray-haired, walking with a cane he actually needed. But his mind was sharp. "Minister Potter," Lucius said with a slight smile. "Father." Harry sat across from him in the study, the same study where Lucius had taught him politics 16 years ago. "I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For everything. For taking me in, for raising me, for choosing me over Voldemort." Lucius was quiet for a moment. "I didn't take you in to be kind, Harry. I took you because you were the boy who lived. A political asset, a weapon. I know, but somewhere along the way you became my son, actually my son. And when I had to choose between power and family, I chose family." Lucius met his eyes. "I don't regret it. Neither do I." They sat in comfortable silence, father and son, bound not by blood but by choice. Outside, the sun set over Wiltshire. The war was over, the battles won, the world rebuilt. And in a study in Malfoy Manor, 2 men who had shaped history sat together and were, simply, perfectly home. Let us know what you'd like to see next. The end.